16, I wrote this biographical informative speech about a housewife from Ohio who was the first woman to fly solo around the world. And no, it wasn't Amelia Earhart. Her name was Jerry Mock. The problem is, a little 16-year-old, same size 16-year-old Olivia, decided to play one song on repeat the entire week I wrote that speech. A September 2021 Psychology Today article titled, "Why Does Music Evoke Emotions?" explains that when pairing a song with an emotional event, which, let's be honest, was every day for 16-year-old Olivia, that song can be used to bring you back to a specific moment in time. You see, I can't listen to that song without it triggering every fun fact I know about female aviation, which is not as helpful as you'd think. But unlike my ability to choose whether or not I listen to that song, we don't always get to choose to not listen to something that will bring us back to a moment in time. Like in forensics, we as a community are failing to protect each other from the re-traumatization and secondhand trauma that occurs in forensics rounds. So today, let's take a look at the problems, understand the causes, and touch down on some solutions. We'll start with the problems of re-traumatization and the creation of secondhand trauma. First, re-traumatization. Now, because of the serious nature of topics frequently covered in forensics rounds, re-traumatization is a serious threat. I'm talking like not putting your phone on airplane mode before taking off level of serious. My new favorite book, The Encyclopedia of Trauma, an interdisciplinary guide, defines re-traumatization as the process that occurs when trauma-related distress is reactivated in an individual who has experienced a traumatic, life-threatening event. So it's like if, for example, you're at nationals and they're about to announce finals, but you find yourself feeling a little bit peckish. So you grab that fruit roll-up that you keep in your emergency stash in your bag, but then you find out that you, hypothetically speaking, did not make it to persuasion finals. Oh no. But that one speech about the same exact topic as yours did, even though yours was way better, now you can't even look at a fruit roll-up without that intense feeling of fury coming back to you. Oh my gosh, I miss fruit roll-ups. In a forensics context, this could look like an interp about sexual assault, causing someone else to relive their trauma. If you're a good performer, you make us feel like we're there. If we feel like we're there. Second, the creation of new secondhand trauma. Psychiatric Times defines secondhand trauma as indirect exposure to trauma through a first-hand account or a narrative of a traumatic event. So when we as competitors perform a narrative of a traumatic event, i.e., we potentially give our audience secondhand trauma, which, I get that sharing is caring, but that is not what my mom meant when she said that. Someone traumatizing anyone in the name of competitive success should be as frowned upon as flying Spirit Airlines. The number of causes for this problem of trauma in forensics actually matches the number of children that Jerry Mock had. 3. Those 3 causes are the competitive success of traumatic pieces, our attitudes towards trigger warnings, and the vulnerability expressed when leaving the room. First, it's no secret that traumatic pieces have great competitive success in forensics. We don't have to look far to see that we as competitors rarely choose pieces that are lighthearted or have hopeful themes. I mean, just think about it. When was the last time that you heard a speech about a little girl experiencing her first Cinnabon at the mall? You know what I'm saying? With that golden crust and the gooey center. Oh, and that perfectly drizzled icing. That's what I thought. Not a one of us. Second, our attitudes towards trigger warnings make them unhelpful and ineffective. Okay, so listen guys, before I start my speech, I do just want to let you know that my speech contains the topic of rape, so if that's something that you're sensitive to, then leave. Now, and I'll ask if everyone's ready and not actually giving you enough time to decide if you want to leave or not, because I don't care what happens to you. And trauma, trauma, trauma! You get trauma, you get trauma! We all get trauma! Competitors don't take trigger warnings seriously. If we genuinely wanted people to feel as though they could remove themselves from a potentially traumatizing situation, we wouldn't treat trigger warnings like some insignificant throwaway sentence before we start our speech. And if we have to give our audience a trigger warning about our topic, maybe we shouldn't be talking about that topic in the first place. Hear me out. I'm not saying we need to pretend that we live in a world that's all sunshine and unicorns. There are serious topics we need to destigmatize talking about. But if talking about them in a graphic way makes someone else become traumatized or relive their trauma, well, it's not worth it. Third, the vulnerable position you are placed in if you heed a trigger warning. Think about it in like a choose your own adventure style, okay? You're sitting in a room half full of people, and the competitor gets up saying that their speech, we'll just say, it's about bedwetting. So if like you're sensitive to that, then you should leave. And you are. So, do you A, stay sitting through a speech that may force you to relive that trauma? Or B, get up and leave? Admitting to everyone in the room that you have a problem letting the bed. The choice is yours. That doesn't take into account the alternative situation of if you're a judge. Then the choice isn't yours. Now imagine that the trigger warning had been given about suicide. Are you as comfortable with the idea of leaving the room? The good news is that there is an easy solution to all of this trauma and pain, and no, it isn't those self-help books you got at Christmas. It's to, are you ready for this? Get rid of all events that typically contain traumatic pieces. So prose, poi, poetry, dua, di, persuasion, informative, rhetorical criticism, gone. It's okay though, guys. Impromptu and extent can probably stay. Actually, it's really traumatizing to have to watch extemp, so I'm just joking. I am not joking. There are serious steps we can all take to reduce the amount of trauma in forensics. There are solutions for competitors, judges, and everyone else. Competitors, choose the lighthearted pieces. Pieces that are equally compelling with thought-provoking takeaways. All I'm asking is that my sexual assault story, the graphic version, not be the first piece you go to. Judges, reward the lighthearted pieces too. Judge based on presentation, not on which piece scarred you the most. Everyone else, take a lesson from when I went to see Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. Just leave. Get up and walk out if you need to. And if you are sensitive to certain topics, come prepared. Recognize the current environment that exists in forensics and be prepared to hear those stories of rape, sexual assault, racial discrimination, and bedwetting. Please don't go watch my DI. Take the steps necessary to protect yourself. These aren't actually easy solutions for forensics, and we will experience some turbulence along the way. But what I'm asking is, now that you know the problem, causes, and solutions, that we all make a better effort to protect each other well. As Clark Olson, communication professor emeritus at Arizona State University, states in his article, Diagnosing the Sickness in Forensics, a Prescription for Wellness, our activity is only as healthy as the people who participate in it are. I love forensics, but the current apathetic posture we hold towards re-traumatization and secondhand trauma is unacceptable. Do you guys remember that song I talked about in the beginning? Well, I had the chance to hear that live in concert this past summer. You know, with the original artist singing, and thousands of people singing with me. Those little speckles of light, you know, as everyone started pulling up their phones. But I wasn't even paying attention to it, because all I could think about was how that 5', 2" tall housewife from Ohio was the only one in her all-boys chemistry class to get a perfect grade on her chemistry exam. And that we do have in common. The height, not the chemistry. That stuff's traumatizing.